And we're back. So we are going to take a bit of a dive into the world of Norse as they were and now as they are going to be. But Ben mentioned the Punga Norse team beforehand. And actually, I thought I'd pop them up on the screen here for those of you watching on YouTube, just to see the similarities. There's a lot of similarities. Like the baggy trousers, the fur boots. I mean, I think the Norse team that they've done it feels a bit more chaosy, but they've got the chaos tribes, they've got the wolf bits. I don't know if it's just
the elves in Punga one are a lot more wolfy.
yeah,
They're lot more like beasts, and they're generally a lot more sort of like defined musculature, which you often get on
yeah.
prison teams.
Um,
Um,
oh, I like their
what are you gonna say?
berserkers. I like their berserkers a lot with the skull faces.
Yes, yeah, very good.
Oh man, this is a cool team.
Are they the berserkers or are they the runners? I thought the berserkers were going to be the guys with the
Oh yeah, the
pelts.
Ulfs are the were-looking people. The pelts are the
Yep.
berserkers, and the must have been catchers, I guess, with the skull
Actually,
faces.
yeah, that would make sense. 'Cause throwers there, you got
Yeah.
alignment.
Well, the Yeti looks quite similar as well, but that's because this Yeti is definitely based on the Yetis from the Ogre World
Yes.
Games Workshop. So that makes sense. That makes sense. I really like those catcher dudes. But you can
Mm.
use them as your Valkyries, and that I think is a pretty good point to transition over to talking about this roster as it stands now and the changes within it.
Before we do
Yes,
that,
go.
I'll say with the Valkyries, if you did back the Bunga Kickstarter along with their Amazon team, there are two players in the Amazon team specifically who are Valkyries. So
Oh,
if you wanted to
amazing.
use Valkyries, they are perfect.
Right. So
Yeah.
the Old Norse team was 0 to 12 Norse linemen, 50k, 6'3", 3 plus edge, 4 plus passing, armor 8 plus, and block. Okay, so one less armor than a human lineman, but they have block. This was the Norse shtick, wasn't it? Is that their dudes have block. They're vulnerable, but they have block. Two throwers who are 20k more than a lineman and they have pass with passing access. Two catchers who are 90k and extra movement, block and dauntless. Same agility, just movement 7 with agility access on a normal. That was quite huge. Norse catchers were sneaky excellent because they were the fastest players on this team and 2 touchdowns away from becoming blodgers. And that's a very quick way to lose friends. And then you had 0 to 2 Norse berserkers. So they were 90k, same stats as a lineman, slightly worse passing, same armor as a lineman, which is interesting. I thought they were a bit tougher, but they weren't. Block, frenzy, and jump up with general and strength access. 0 to 2 Ulfwereners. Now these were just awesome players. 105k. I think they went up in price a little bit in this edition. Movement 6, strength 4, edge 4 plus, no passing, 9 plus armor, and frenzy with general and strength. They are the best linebackers in Blood Bowl. They're the fastest strength 4 piece that isn't a Saurus, but they've come with frenzy and reasonable agility on that 4 plus as well.
Yeah, decent armor.
Very decent armor and general and strength access. So they become block, frenzy,
And a good
strength
price.
4. Yeah, really good price. 105. Probably one of my favorite players in the game because that I think the Bloodseeker has kind of backfilled that role now. These guys are better because they're faster, but the Bloodseeker is better armor and you get 4 of them, so it kind of ousted them a little bit. But the fact that we got the Ulfwereners still in the team is huge because it was such an important part. And then the last bit to wrap up the team was the Yeti, 140k, which is Croxagore price, so cheaper than a Minotaur. Movement 5, Strength 5, Edge 5 plus, Armor 9 plus, Claws, Disturbing Presence, Frenzy, Loner 4 plus, and Unchanneled Fury. Unchanneled Fury is the wild animal one, isn't it? It's the one animal savagery is the one where you punch your own guy. This is just the one where you get angry and scream at the sky.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, claws on a big guy is always really, really good.
Yeah. Bloodspawn, decent player. Decent player there for 60k more than a Yeti, and you got strength access, so actually one skill up. I mean, the first thing a Yeti takes, generally speaking, is actually in the old edition it would have been Mighty Blow. In the new edition, where Mighty Blow and Claws doesn't stack, it it is a bit more like, do I take guard to make my other guys better? Do I take brawler to make my blocks more
Probably
effective?
Juggernaut. I like Juggernaut on these players, especially with Frenzy. Like you get nice blitzers with that. Um,
You do, yeah. It's Juggernaut, Brawler, Guard, Mighty Blow. I mean,
especially with Unchanneled Fury, because often you blitz with these players to actually get them into where they need to be.
yeah,
I think that's why I like Juggernaut with it.
that's
But
fair. You are often blitzing with it. Yeah, you're quite right. I like getting them stuck in, but because you've got the Ulf Warriors who blitz very effectively as well.
true.
Norse is a solid team. I'm so glad we're getting a proper team. Now, before we go and look at and speculate on the other positionals, third party teams. Teams of Legend. We've done this as a podcast episode. Ben, you backed the heck out of Punga.
Yeah. Whether I'll get them is a different story. Though
that is
Russia
true.
switch,
Actually,
but
that is very true.
yeah, I don't know what the hell deal with is with that at the moment.
So, as it stands, you've still got your two Wolf Warriors, you've still got your two Berserkers, you've got your linemen, you've got the Valkyrie, which is going to be the first piece that we talk about. That is described to be between a thrower and a catcher. Okay, the primary ball carrier is how it was described. And like you said a minute ago, when you're looking at the team, you've got the thrower models, you've got the catcher models. If you've backed the Amazon team, you've got that as well. How are you feeling about the carryover of third-party teams into the new world of Norse?
I think generally they'd be pretty okay. You could easily represent them with something, even if it was just like a different, coloured armor or some helmeted players and not helmeted players. Ultimately, you look at the Norse team that Games Workshop have made,
Yeah,
and they're all pretty similar to each other. Like there's not a huge amount in it, and you even get some teams like Nobility where you cannot tell the difference between them anyway. So
yeah,
I don't think it matters
that's fair.
too much. I think it's clear, like it's clear at a glance what a player is and how they differ and what skills they have differently. That's fine. And if the Amazon players are just like purely ball carrying related skills, that's usually not of massive importance to the opponent, which is where it matters more.
Yeah,
I think as long as your opponent is clear and it's stuff like block or was it like a wrestle, something that would affect their decision.
yeah.
I think that's where it matters most.
Yeah, I mean, you're bang on the money. As long as it's clearly defined, you can use whatever you want as whatever you want. And then if that fails, you just give them purple base rings and keep your girlfriend happy, which I think is fair. Now, I think... So, on the stream... Yeah, they were talking about the Valkyrie and how it's the ball carrying and throwing shenanigans player while everyone else crumps the enemy. So let's talk through the Valkyrie, Ben. Thrower is gone, catcher is gone. Now this is a speculation, but I think we're pretty certain that those two positionals are gone and have been replaced by the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie is in a running, throwing pose, but in Games Workshop land that generally means nothing on account of the mummies running. So we've got to be very conscious, very conscious of that. What do we think the Valkyrie is going to be on this team? What skills? What set? Let's identify the model type. Let's have a look and kind of cogitate what we expect that player piece to do.
I don't think any skills really stand out. Like what this could be, like maybe like simple short hands to give you some reliability to getting the ball. If they're going to get rid of stuff like pass, then maybe they're going to replace it with just you can get the ball and then just try and hang on to it. I'm not sure. What about you? Is anything jumping out?
So the Norse deal, as it was in the old edition, this may have changed, is that everyone had block. The thrower had block, the catcher had block, the lineman had block, the berserker had block. The elf didn't have block, but all the human parts had block. So the thrower was block pass, the catcher was block dauntless, which didn't make a lot of sense as a catcher. So my best guess for this piece, and I'm going to throw in, I guess, my best hopeful guess is we're going to see movement 7, strength 3, edge 3 plus, passing 3 plus, not 2 plus, 3 plus, armor 8 plus, and then I think we're going to see 1.5 good skills. And what I mean by that, someone in the chat earlier, in the chat on the video, said, like, you know, what about sure hands? Sure hands, yes, if the combat skill is different. I don't think we'll see block sure hands. I think that's just insanely too good.
That will be ridiculous.
So if we see the entire Norse team transition to brawler instead of block to represent the fact that they are drunken brawlers, okay, I could see them doing that. They haven't said that there's block everywhere, so it's definitely something they could do. And they did it with the dwarves on the OWA team. If they end up with brawler and this Valkyrie positional ends up with brawler, then yeah, sure hands is a thing. If it's block, then I think we'll see pass. And do you know what? I don't think we'll see any of the other silly pass skills. I think it will be block, pass, maybe.
Not like the nobility where they got pass, running pass.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of think was going to happen. I think worst case scenario, this positional is just the Norse thrower, right? 70k, movement 6, block, pass. Okay. And you know what? That's fine. Like, that's absolutely fine. If you don't have the catchers, you've got more of an opportunity to develop your thrower, to be your primary ball carrier. If they are more of the catcher base, like movement 7 with agility access, then actually they're going to be superstars, like with block. But the key for me is whether or not they have block, because if they got block, they will not give. Now, this is a bit of a statement. They will not give another S rank skill, okay? And that's what I consider sure hands to be. Sure hands and block are just the two best skills kicking about. I don't see that happening. And I don't see this player getting better than a 3+ pass. So
yeah, I think it's something well, at least what it feels like they've done more recently is sort of given these starting players, like you say, half skills, like stuff that you didn't normally pick.
Yes.
So, like, you know, we had like running pass ability, along with like stand firm on a line on like a bodyguard, which you might not normally take.
Yeah.
And then like grab on Black Orcs, and it kind of gives them identity. So you might even see that in this team where they have something else. It could even be like skills like safe pair of hands,
yeah,
you know, which you might not normally get. I can't even remember what that does now. Is that the one that protects you against like?
I think that's the one where if you get knocked down, you get to choose where the ball goes.
Right. Okay.
And you're right. This could be a really good opportunity for them to bust out a skill that doesn't normally get used much, which makes me worry a little bit, but could be awesome. Now, if they're going to make this team a running team, and historically Norse are a running team because they've got that combat piece, then actually this dude coming with sure hands would be awesome, or coming with block, because that's what they're going to end up. Now, where there's no catcher in this team, there's no point throwing most of the time. So them having pass would be suboptimal. My only thing is, what if they go nobility blitzer route with this positional? Block, catch, with a passing of 3+, and then you can develop one to be a catcher and one to be a thrower.
That would be a very good player.
That's
along with the rest of the team, depending on what the rest of the team is.
If these gals end up as nobility blitzers but with one less armor, okay, what's the nobility blitzer? It's like aggravatingly expensive, isn't it? 105k or something that doesn't need to be.
Yeah, I think it's 100.
Put this 90k, movement 7, 1 armor less, 15k less, block and catch with just general and agility and passing maybe on a single, and you've only got 2. They kind of become the superstars of the team. And this is it. We don't know. If Norse go brawler route, this changes everything, because then you can give them sure hands.
Yeah. And I think they will. I think based on what you said, I think they will. I think block everywhere isn't really... It's not very creative design, is it? And I think maybe Games Workshop will want to mix it up a bit. It's very easy to just be like, everyone has block. Sorry, Milton. Which is...
But it's also a significant moving of someone's cheese. But yeah, that is massively the vulnerability. you know, what do you think is going to happen? Like, genuinely baseline Games Workshop, what do you think they're going to do? Let's have your genuine
I think
prediction.
they will be brawler. I really do. I think they will. I think they like having that skill. It does make them quite similar to Black Orcs, where you got brawler everywhere, but they're not because they're strength 3. And I think you'll still have block on like the berserkers.
It does differentiate your combat pieces, I guess.
Yeah, it does, and it still gives. You still have the Norse identity. You want to get stuck in, and that's kind of why I thought maybe, like now you've explained it to me, I think I'm even more convinced on something like Safe Pair of Hands because the Norse playstyle is very offensive.
Yeah.
Very offensive. You want to just get absolutely stuck in there and cause damage. You have no other interest in just damaging. Like dodging doesn't matter. You're there to do damage with your skills, not your strength. And having Safe Pair of Hands kind of lends itself to that playstyle because you can afford to get a bit more stuck in.
Yeah.
And then you get knocked down, you put the ball there, you pick it up with one of your jump up pieces, and you carry on going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe we'll see more stuff like that. You know, the jump up, the Safe Pair of Hands, the even defensive. Maybe I don't know.
I think they'll stick with block with their core skills because I think they'll be afraid of the. I think they'll be afraid of the backlash because that is a monstrous change. I don't think it's a bad change, but it would massively change up the play experience. And I think they'll play it really, really close with the Valkyrie, and I think it will also be a movement 6 piece that has block and pass, which will be a skill that never gets used. That's my worry with this piece, is that if it's movement 6, the Norse thrower was useless with the exception of running them in a tournament to take leader, so you save yourself the money. Like, this piece here is such a cool model, it deserves to be played. So nobility blitzer, or just keep the cat. Like, if they took away throwers and just had catchers, fine, right? Movement 7 and agility access gives that player an identity of itself. Great suggestion was, what if they had pro? No other skills, just had pro, because then they're good at throwing, they're good at blocking, they're good at dodging. You've kind of got that inbuilt, and it shows that they are Odin's elite. I thought that was a great call.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll do it, but that is a skill that we don't see rostered anywhere, that doesn't start anywhere. That could be it could definitely channel that elite vibe. But again, I think that's probably too exotic for it to be.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't think they're too afraid of doing exotic anymore. I think the original Norse roster was a little bit just not good. Like, for lack of a better term, like it was. I know I'm going to upset some people there, but it's a bit of a mess, isn't it? Like you've said, you know, block dauntless for a catcher doesn't make any sense. You've got way too many positionals from the get go. You could get rid of catchers and be fine.
We talked about this, didn't we? About combining the thrower and the catcher. Looks like they've done it. I'm super on board with that. I just hope they don't fluff the opportunity and get rid of the catchers.
Yeah.
But I mean, Ben, the biggest news, and we haven't talked about this yet, is the beer boars, the beer pigs.
Yeah.
This is just random. Like, completely random. I absolutely love it. I mean, where do you stand on man bear pig?
I think it's interesting. I did have a feeling of just like Games Workshop are kind of forcing the memes a little bit. Just like, oh, this is going to be miniature of the year because it's an animal and it's funny, right, guys? But no, I think that it's worthy of it because, yeah, these are just hilarious. I don't, I don't see how they fit though. Like, they're good, they're cool, they're funny. It's very Blood Bowl, but it's not very like Blood Bowl as a game. They're just a pig running around.
So, this is why I don't think they'll move too far away from block, because as an aesthetic and as a team design, they've leaned very heavily into beer. The players have got beer. They're standing on beer kegs, and their special team thing is 20k pigs with beer barrels attached to them that are somehow allowed on the pitch. So it's 20k positional. That was, essentially confirmed. So this is where the fun genuinely begins, and this is why I think that they're going to leave the core team alone, is because it's a weird one. But what the heck do you think these guys are going to do? Like,
I have no idea. I genuinely don't. I saw some good suggestions of. I think I said it before with the Valkyries, but defensive is not a bad suggestion. You're just like, because defensive turns off guard. You're distracting guard players. Guard players are usually big, probably interested in having a pint.
yeah,
Like a Black Orc or a Troll or something like that. I could definitely see that, and defensive works nicely in the Norse playstyle, where your strength is often a little bit lower than other bashing teams.
and it's
So,
not a skill that you see used.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's a really cool suggestion. That though.
I
Other
did
than
as
that,
well. I did like that. Now there's a let's assume they're going to lean into the random animal running around distracting stuff trope. Okay, let's say they start there and it gets weirder. So defensive and guard are two of the most obvious choices, as is disturbing presence. So those are like the core skills that are there that would do stuff to represent, like, it's a beer mascot on the pitch. Yeah, I'm now more pumped. I'm now stronger. I need to protect the beer pig, or like you said, defensive. Like, we're distracting the opponent. Now we're stronger, protecting the beer pig. Disturbing presence. There's a beer pig. All that stuff makes, like, that's fine. That fits within the rules, without engineering, without a new skill, without a new mechanic. And this is where my question comes to you, BT. Do you think with the beer boars, with the man beer pigs, we will see a new skill / new mechanic specifically for this, open quote, positional?
I think there's a really decent chance. Was there one? Oh no, I can't remember. Someone suggested a name, but I can't remember what it was. But anyway, yeah, no. I think that's possibly this. This could be something that they're trying to lean into. We saw this kind of with the referees, where we've now got kind of another presence on the pitch, and maybe they're trying to experiment more with that, or bringing more stuff on. That's kind of like not a player, but an addition.
Yeah, and this is definitely a step towards that. This is the first animal on the pitch. The first, what I would say.
Acorn?
Yeah, but he's anthropomorphized.
He is a player.
He is
It's a player.
Yeah. In the same way that a skeleton has character, so does Acorn. Where these guys, they are the first, I guess, non-anthropomorphized creature being that we're seeing on the Blood Bowl pitch. I don't think there's anything else, with the exception of, well, this doesn't count because Rumbelow doesn't have a model, with the exception of Rumbelow's mount. Everything else is a dude, roughly, that could be in a Star Wars movie, right? Or a fantasy movie. Like, we've got the Goblin, we've got the Minotaur, we've got the Goat Man. Like, these are things that are like, okay, I can buy something off this Goat Man and we can do a deal. That feels like there's a level there. Now we've genuinely got, I mean, I absolutely love this dude's hat. I think it's wicked. But we've just got an animal with a barrel strapped to it that is a positional. And on the one hand, I love this. Getting stuff on the pitch is really cool. I have long been a promoter of, one, the Squig team, but two, I really want Noblar trappers, and I want trap tokens, and I want little things, and I want them to be on the pitch, because actually there's a complete area of game design there where it's just not there.
Yeah, and it's a great way to expand the game. Like, it's awesome stuff to add to the game that doesn't require you to like scrap everything you've already got. If you just add new things that can like be thrown in,
yeah,
that's a really awesome way to kind of keep the game alive and evolving.
But where they've called this positional, this means that the player 13 and 14 on this roster is going to be, I mean, Timon and Pumbaa, right? And that feels weird to me, that we're going to have these pigs who are going to get SPP and they are going to level up. If they are a rostered positional, that is fine. What I assumed at first is that this is going to be kind of like the Joseph Bugman inducement, or the angry cheerleader inducement, where it is an inducement, but you can put it on the pitch if you need to. So Bugman will come on the pitch if you're down to less than 11 players. He'll come on and he's got stats. I was like, actually, it could be interesting to see. This is the only thing that I struggle with the beer balls, is they don't have that. But then they do have the mascot angle where you're like, oh, what's your favorite beer ball player? Is like, oh, it's Terry, number 17 of the Scrim Crawler people, and like, people will get behind it. It's just, I don't know, just that little bit doesn't marry up to me, and that's the only thing I'm struggling to accept. From a sports roleplay point of view, I can't imagine myself as the beer ball.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, literally what you just said there, where they said they provide a quick mid-game pick-me-up to the rest of their team. So if they act as like a keg as well, why is that now on the pitch?
Yeah.
Like their support staff, right? Surely it's now filling a support staff role, which, you don't get your cheerleaders on the pitch. Like, I get the whole design aspect of you could get a cheaper keg benefit at risk of being battered by the enemy team. But if they don't do anything else on top of that, you may as well just keep them right at the back, and
And we've got to assume that if they're a positional, they're taking up one of your 11 players on the pitch.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's a good point. Unless they have warming,
And
no, even they
that wouldn't work. So this is what I'm really intrigued by. Now, I'm in a power game for a second. Having access to players that are 20k on a team like Norse, that is going to save you 60k to put towards star players if you're playing in a tournament. So I'm assuming you can take 2 beer balls because there are beer balls. If they still account as players, that means you can take 9 dudes, 2 beer balls, and increase your TV gap. So you're saving money on two linemen. So you're playing an 1100 TV tournament. You take 2 beer balls, you've basically got 1160 worth of gap to put a star player in there. That means you can take Griff easier. And it means you can actually save 60k and take those off Warreners as well. So interesting. That's really powerful. Really powerful. I think it could be. I mean,
it helps, right? It's options. Options open gaps. The more options you have, things you can try. So
now let's assume that these are gonna be players. They're on a 25mm round base. That puts them, in my mind, at strength 1. That seem about right?
Gotta be.
So strength 1. Probably stunty, probably titchy, probably dodge, because that's just kind of what I can see them running around, squealing around. Maybe they don't have stunty because they've got stuff on them. Somebody mentioned that they were like, well, what if it's like a bomb? I think it was Chris Black said, what if it's a bomb? What if
that is interesting?
Yeah, and I'm like,
now I'm sold.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, well, that is really interesting, and you're just really opening the cards here for a Night Goblin tea with squigs and squig bombs and things.
You need a rostered player, which you immediately kill.
Yeah, interesting one. Now, if they're going to be players, no hands, stunty, titchy, dodge, strength 1, snotling, probably speed and stats. I don't think they'll have sidestep because they're chunky and clunky. I don't think that will fit.
They're a pig.
Yeah. If that is the bar here, let's assume that we ignore everything else. Then actually, it could be useful to have one to run around and create opportunity assists. That would be the low bar here. You're saving some team value for star players and in positionals. But basically at 60k reroll, you can take 2 less linemen, take 2 pigs instead, and it comes with a free reroll basically. So from a team building point of view, that's the lowest bar you've got here. Then we up the stakes. We say that actually they've got, I think Disturbing Presence would be the least useful, and for just on pitch rules, we're ignoring special rules for now. Guard and defensive would be really interesting. Guard on a titchy dodge player would be awesome and would work brilliantly for Norse.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that tact?
Yeah, no, I think that would almost be too strong. I think if they are, because did you say they're confirmed to be 20k?
Yeah. Wade said that they were 20k positionals.
I think 20k for a itchy guard piece is insane.
Would be monstrous, right?
Yeah, I think defensive would be a little bit more reasonable because that's dependent. That's
You have to put
restrictive
them,
on the enemy having guard, right?
yeah, and you have
So
to put them in a position to get blatted.
yeah, yeah.
And that's the other thing about guard is you've got a strength 1 guard player. Well, they're going to get melted, but it forces the hand of your opponent at that point, which is really, really useful. So that could be great. That's where I see, like, we'll say the low bar is they're just vanilla strength 1 piece of garbage. Maybe they've got horns, maybe they've got dauntless because they're just little angry beings, I don't know, but it's not going to achieve much. Then we add in that question I asked you, which is, do you see them having a new skill or special rules? And this is where it gets real interesting. So with the game design hat on, Ben, looking at this from a top-down themey aspect, what would you have them do on the pitch?
I think genuinely just pure distraction. They need to cause some kind of disruption to the enemy. I think they would be more disruptive than they would be beneficial to the playing team because the playing team are trying to win a game of sports and they probably wouldn't put on the wars with kegs to let themselves get like, do you know what I mean? So I think to like have these run through being just like be free, cause the enemy to be like, what the hell is that? I think that could work. I some part of me, I was thinking maybe they'll have a negatrait because they're animals, and would animals, adhere to sports tactics?
Which negatrait do you think would work better for an animal like this?
Really stupid.
I think you're right. Like what there's there, then you've got a Norseman herding a beer boar in the right direction.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
so actually, a beer boar with guard and really stupid, where one Norseman has to herd them in the right direction, would be
Oh,
epic.
maybe. Yeah, that would actually
And they fail
balance it
really
out, wouldn't it?
stupid because they're standing on their own, and you know what? That's like, and I don't know. That's a really narrative angle to take.
Mm. Yeah, that is. And maybe they don't have Titchy.
Yeah, maybe they don't because they've got barrels, and actually, you know what? The bombardier and the stilty runners and the fungus hoppers, they don't have Titchy, so it kind of balances it out a little bit. That would be really interesting for me. And I mean, one of the easiest things they could do is to allow it as a player that doesn't count as one of your starting 11 without swarming. It just says, you know what?
Yeah.
After setup, you can chuck a beer bore into, a sideline because they run onto the pitch.
Oh, that might be it. Yeah, that might be it. Yeah, because they bring these along as kegs for the game, and then without controlling it, they just keep going on the pitch. They just want to get involved.
Yeah. Now that's kind of all. I think we've done a good job here so far of staying close to the actual core mechanics of the game.
Mm.
And this is where we're going to step outside of that now, because this is where loads of people have had some really great ideas. My most themey one that I don't think would work was like, right, if there's a beer ball next to a Norseman, the Norseman's drunk, they've got really stupid, but they're +1 strength or something because they're just like they've had a sip of beer and had a crazy time. Like there's a ton of stuff they could do like that. I think someone suggested that it gives jump up to friendly players who are standing next to a beer ball because they're like up for the beer. It inspires them to
That's
get up
good.
and fight, which is interesting, but that falls outside of the core mechanics now, and that would require a new skill or a special power, and we have not seen that introduced in any team so far.
Not on positionals, right?
No,
Yeah, not on
not on
players.
rosters. Definitely in inducements, right? That's inducements are free game, like absolutely fair game. Standard positionals, and I'm thinking about this from the person who has to write the blooming rosters for our tournaments and stuff. How are they going to manage that in game? There's got to be a new skill that goes in there, and that is fine. Like that is absolutely fine. I, I don't, I don't see anything coming in, Ben, that would be stronger than guard.
Yeah, like guard would be strong, and it would have to have some drawback, like we've already explained. So yeah, like let's look at it like that, where you've got what could we introduce to the game that's really powerful, How about they give +1 to every block on people they're standing near, which is guard.
Which is guard, exactly.
Mm.
And there's an intrinsic balancing point there of, I'll just punch the ball then. And that's okay. Like, there is a balancing factor of choice. They're like, oh yeah, I'm running 2 berserkers, 2 elf warriors, and a yeti, max frenzy. I've got 2 beer balls to run around, chuck my guard on there to make sure I'm making profitable blocks, having a wonderful time. And then at halftime you can just drink them, and you can re-roll your KOs for the start of the second half. Like, that all fine. Like, that all fine. The beer ball being a sacrificial thing falls into the team special player, the team special rule, like with the necromantic, like with the necromancers, like that's a team special rule, right? So actually, if you use the beer balls as a sacrifice to a rule instead of having the rule on them, then it takes away complication from a player stat point of view as well. Like, that's your Norse special rule is you can drink a beer ball. Take a beer ball and chuck it into the casualty box. Doesn't count as a casualty, but can't be used for the rest of the game. But you get to re-roll all your KOs. You know what? All right, that's reasonable. Hell of a price at 20k though. Anything we see for 20k that has an actual effect is 15k is a snotling. 20k is a fungus flinger, which is a superb player, I'll give you that. But the best case scenario, it bombs some dudes and then gets murdered. Okay? Beerbor, 20k, runs around on the pitch and then can revive a player or gives you beneficial. It may be, you know what, maybe it just counts as a keg. You can drink a Beerbor and it counts as a keg for at the end of a drive. Like, all right. I could see that. They've got no hands, probably, which kind of alleviates some things.
Yeah, but then you just, if it's the keg, you just don't want to take it.
Risk it on the pitch.
Or you just put it at the end, or you might want to take it. You probably don't want to take it because it's then you're down to 10 players. So
yeah, I suppose if you could take a keg or 2 beer balls, that once per game you can drink and have a keg, but just once. And you can also use them as little titchy players that run around. Yeah, okay. I don't see the point of that. I think they've got to do something that helps the team. They don't have... these guys have got to have no hands. Okay? It would make no sense for them to have hands.
As much as we wish they would.
Yeah, I do love the idea of a beer ball picking up a ball in his mouth and then running off. Like, I think that's brilliant. But that would be really powerful for the Norse to all of a sudden get a stunty player. Not going to happen. This is just the most interesting design angle. They've taken a tier 1 team that is a serious team. Norse is a serious team. They've got rid of the most pointless positioner with the thrower, and they may or may not be keeping it, essentially. Love that move. Beer ball. Super interesting. Worst case for me, Ben, would it be just it being pointless?
Yeah, that would be really disappointing. It's just like, oh, that was a fun meme for the photos, and no one's ever going to take it. That would be disappointing. So I hope it's interesting, and I hope it's a meaningful choice. Yeah.
Tough one. So yeah, worst case scenario for me is that the Valkyrie is just the thrower, and the catcher is gone, and the beer balls are just garbage and don't do anything fun. Overpowered realm, they end up with block and pass on the Valkyrie with the catcher stats at movement 7.
You say block and pass on the beer ball, that would be.
And then the beer ball has guard and no nega traits. But you know what? As long as they balance it out a little bit, I think it's going to be okay. So I'm not worried about the beer balls. I think I'm more worried about the Valkyries. Which one are you more worried about, Ben?
I'm more worried about the Valkyries because at the end of the day, the beer balls are fun little tokens, aren't they, for rerolls and cakes and things?
Yeah, I think this is a great selling point for the team. I think there's going to be loads of players that pick up a Norse team and use these as kegs.
Yeah.
And that's wicked. The Valkyrie model as well. I think we're going to see a lot of teams roll that out as your star player thrower. And I think that's great.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I love that too. Now, we've not seen the dice, we've not seen the spike, we've not seen the pitch. This is super early on. We have seen the Yeti, and the Yeti is a very cool model. altogether, it looks like Norse are going to be a pretty great release. I mean,
When's it going to come, do you reckon?
so it's the end of March now. When would be the most frustrating release point? We've got a tournament on the 7th of May. So, in fact, Ben, I bet you a box of Norse that it will land after then.
After May.
After May the 7th. After our tournament.
Oh, I agree with you. I don't want to
Oh,
have to pay
okay.
you,
All right,
Norse.
well then, I actually, I bet you a box of Norse that it will land either Saturday the 14th of May or the 21st of May. 1 to 2 weeks after our tournament.
Okay, you're ambitious. I'm saying 18th of June.
Oh, that would suck. But you might be right. You might be
Is
right.
it Saturday they come out? It is Saturday.
Yeah,
18th of June. Yeah.
Now the 7th of May. But okay, let's not beat around the bush here. Best case scenario, on Sunday they go, hey, this is up for pre-order on the 2nd and it's out on the 9th of April. That would be awesome. Not going to happen, right?
No.
Now, May is optimistic, but best case would be it would be sweet for them to land on our Dungeon Bowl day. That would just be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't
know whether have we talked about that. I don't know whether he's going to fit into Dungeon Bowl.
Oh yeah, no, great shout! Wow, what an accidental transition. Yeah, what do you reckon is going to happen with these guys in DB?
I don't know. I have no idea. Is there any? Where would they fit? I guess
I like the
metal,
Valkyries in Heavens,
Valkyries in Heavens is pretty good.
and especially
Werner's in Beasts.
Yeah, gotta be.
I mean, everything gets thrown in Beasts, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and the Yeti in Beasts.
Yeah.
And this is it. How do you think they're going to do that?
Yeah, maybe just an FAQ, maybe like an update. I don't know. I mean, we don't even have a Dungeon Ball rulebook yet, so like a standalone one. So maybe they're waiting to bring out a few teams before doing a Dungeon Ball compendium. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait and see. They could be as simple as they just be like, add these to your college rosters.
It might be in the spike.
Yeah, it could be.
There might be a little one-pager that says Norse teams in Dungeon Ball. You can add this player to this roster, this player to this roster, this player to this roster. They're great in Dungeon Ball. Bye, bye, bye.
They might add a couple of colleges. You might have like a college of chaos and a college of, I don't know,
the ice
something.
college.
Yeah, like that, and then you mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're going to see some new. I don't know. It depends on how much they want to support Dungeon Ball. We won't know until the end of the year. Like we could, like we have with the Death Zone. Like it just randomly appeared in the middle of the year last year, didn't it? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Here's a book of lols. Like enjoy. I could see them doing that this year with some Dungeon Ball stuff in, because the Death Zone the Almanac was Death Zone. What? Summit had some Death Zone, some Blood Bowl, Dungeon Bowl rules in it. Was it? What was it? Was it Death Zone 2?
Yeah.
Was it Death Zone?
No, Death Zone 2 isn't a thing.
It was the Almanac then.
It was the Almanac.
It was the Almanac.
Okay. Yeah.
For goodness sake.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe Death Zone 2 comes out in summer, has extra Dungeon Ball rules in, but they're only one more team. Like best case scenario, Norse come out by then. It's March. How many teams do you think we're going to see this year?
Oh, 2 more? No, that's ambitious. 1 more.
Do you know what?
1 more team.
I would love 2 more, but I think you're right. I think we'll have this team. Then in summer we'll have a Death Zone, maybe with some stuff in, and then we'll have another team in autumn, and then maybe an Almanac. So I think that probably is what we'll see going forward. And as long as that second team is Squigs, because now apparently it's fine to have animals on a pitch, then I'm well happy and I'm on board with that.
Does bode well for you. I'm still on Slash team, but one of us is going to be right, or we're both going to be wrong.
You were closest last year with Corn, but I mean, Squigs, Pigs. I think I've got the slight edge this year. that's a stretch, but I'm taking it.
It's true.
All right. We'll probably have a few weeks before we see any info land with these guys, won't we?
while.
Yeah. Was there anything else cool in the release that you thought was worth a mention?
I think everything was kind of cool. I mean, if we're going for the whole Adepticon release, that was pretty cool. But I think that's a lot to talk about now. It's not we don't have time on the podcast.
No, we don't.
Yeah, no, I think that was awesome. I think it was really cool to see all the stuff that came out, and it's great to see more Blood Bowl. Like them supporting Blood Bowl in the regular pace that they are is awesome. So thanks to Games Workshop for that, because we like Blood Bowl here.
Yeah.
Not bad.
We're fond of it. It is definitely the best game. Ash Waste stuff was pretty cool though. For Necromunda.
Horus Heresy is a bit dangerous.
Oh, it is, but we've got 8 mil stuff to do. That's why I'm kind of cushioned from that, because
Like that.
Yeah. Hey, you've got your printer running, dude. If you're feeling the urge to build some Heresy, do that, because then you can have as many Contemptor Dreadnoughts and as many Sakaran tanks.
That's true.
And you can get Titans then, so you can just go and buy a Reaver or a Warlord, and you can actually use it.
I want a Mastodon full of World Eaters. That's what I want.
We've got the STL for that, haven't we?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. All right, job done. No, Ash Waste was cool with the Sand People and the Bug Dudes and the Buggy Orlocks. Like, that's pretty cool. But not as cool as a new Blood Bowl team. So I'm very happy with that. Ben, anything else you want to touch on when it comes to Norse?
I think that's everything. Yeah, just looking forward to seeing more details. Hopefully we'll get some more deep dives into what this actually is.
I need to know what these boars do. All right. Anyway, podcast this week is a week early, so unless there's a lot of exciting stuff come up, we probably will be a couple of weeks before we have another episode now. But as ever, we're putting videos up on the channel. So thank you very much for joining us. Do let us know what you think is going to happen with the Norse roster, because I am properly excited. I really want the Valkyrie and the Pig to be great, because this is the 2020 version, but there's an opportunity to take something excellent and just make it new. And then I want them to do the same for Amazons, please. Let's get rid of that 4 blitzer standard boring meta. Let's get movement 8 catchers in there. Let's get a Croxagore. Let's just spice up Amazons in the same way that we spiced up Norse. This is exactly what I wanted. Well, and there's man-beer pigs, so on board with that. Anyway, BT, thank you very much, mate. Always nice to chat Blood Bowl.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
Enjoy Frostgrave. No, Gloomhaven.
That's not...
And yeah, we'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking. Thanks very much for watching. We really appreciate your support. If you want to help support the channel even further, please like and subscribe, or come join us on our Patreon. We have early access to content. We get loads of feedback from you guys, and we try and do competitions as much as we can. Or you can get yourself some Bonehead podcast merch on our Spreadshirt site. So if you want to support a team, especially for the Bonehead Championship, you can pick up a shirt, a mug, things like that. It all helps support the channel, and we really appreciate it. Anyway, links below. Thank you very much. Happy blocking.